Welcome to the HITea With Grace podcast, where we spill the tea on HIT. I'm thrilled to be here with Kat McDavitt and Lisa Bari, co-hosts of the Health Tech Talk Show at the ViVE conference. So Kat is president of Innsena, CEO of the Zorya Foundation, an investor, and more. And Lisa is CEO of Civitas Networks. She's also a board member, health tech advisor, interoperability data and value-based care expert, and I'm out of breath. Can't wait to learn from you both. Thanks for joining me, ladies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It
so
is pretty amazing. So ViVE developed this amazing podcast studio for Like a Girl Media. It is really decked out. So thank you so much for that, ViVE. And I'm so thrilled you guys get to be here today. So tell me a little bit about the career path that brought you to your roles today. Now, as short as you can. I know it's hard because both of you have an amazing history. So let's start with Kat.
Last night, we were talking to Brendan Keeler at the bar. This was a late night thing. And apparently he does this thing where he makes you tell your whole life story in 2 minutes and he times you. So I feel like we're ready.
Let's dive in. To go.
We're ready. Okay. All right. So in terms of career pathing, I had no plan. I thought I was going to be a diplomat. I spoke a bunch of languages. I majored in religion and international politics. And then that was not what happened. I became a drug rep and I was a really good writer. And so that landed me in PR. And because it was the Great Recession, you take the job you get. And the job I got was health IT, marketing, and PR. So yes, that was kind of the move. And I did that for a long time. We got acquired and then I started Innsena so I could keep doing what I was doing. At the time, I was a comms consultancy only. Fell in love with one of my clients, Collective Medical. I went and joined them as their chief marketing officer. It was a startup. You could do whatever you wanted. And I wanted to sell states directly. We had no government affairs function or anything like that. And so again, if you had the will to work 27 hours a day, you could do all those things. And so I became the chief of external affairs, which was a title I made up for myself with permission from our friend, CEO Chris Klomp, and learned a lot about Medicaid, learned how to do policy as a tailwind. We got acquired by Point Click Care, a wonderful company, a large post-acute EHR company, wonderful people. And after that, I took them as my largest client, went back to Innsena, started with my now business partner, Leslie Kirk, who bought the consultancy from me so I could join Collective. Started this whole practice in market access. And that's why I say I'm retired at PR. But Grace, as you know, once a PR, always that PR girl. And, Lisa and I became buddies complaining about policy on the internet. Meanwhile, I started the Zorya Foundation, wanted to give back. So we give childcare grants to healthcare workers. Lisa's on my board. She's technically my boss. What?
That's right.
And then, we just complained a lot to each other. We love talking about work and business. So we used a video messaging app during the pandemic to keep in touch. And so all day long, we'd be sending these videos to each other. About a year and a half ago, I was like, Lisa, everybody loves us. We're hilarious. Let's go on LinkedIn Live and just do this live. We won't prep. We'll just do the same thing. And she was like, no, nobody likes us and no one will watch us. And I was like, whatever. One day, I think you talked to one of your advisors who said, yeah, you should get more exposure. You're hilarious and funny. And you believed them, but not me. And I got a text that was, I think it was probably a Marco Polo, let's be serious. And you said, let's do it. And so 3 days later, we tried to go live, but didn't.
I remember that because I saw it pop up and I said, wait, it's not working.
Oh my God. No, yeah. It did record. It recorded on one platform. We figured it out. And then since then, there's only been, 20% of the time we have technical difficulties, but low budget operation.
Well, I'm one of your biggest fans. I honestly love the way that you articulate what's going on in the industry for real and the way that your guests come on and just realize that they also have to be just as real as you are. And I appreciate that in this space where it's often just marketing jargon and you kind of get lost in messaging speak and you can lose your way. So thanks so much for all the work you're doing in that and amazing to hear about your history. Lisa, let's dive into you. What's your career path that brought you today to what you do?
Yeah, so I started my career out as well in PR, actually, which is why we are, the best PR gals retired.
You might be the current
That's right.
reigning champion PR girl.
Well, you're welcome to it. Yeah. I graduated from college right during the middle of the first .com boom and bust in the Bay Area. I was really interested in technology, but also had communication skills. I started out in PR and then was like, I got to get out of here. So I actually moved out of the country. I started out teaching English in Germany and ended up staying for many years. Got a business degree, did some work in that area, and really was part of sort of the first search engine marketing, digital marketing, as digital marketing sort of came to be in the US. And did that for about a decade, working through different types of technology companies, and eventually found my way into healthcare IT, for better or for worse. Here we are. My first role in the field was as an executive in marketing in the now infamous EHR Practice Fusion. Luckily before, lots of great people there who were not part of the downfall of Practice Fusion and eventual sale to Allscripts. But what it taught me was really like the interest in policy. So I started out from a marketing and a growth perspective, and then really just got very, very interested in healthcare policy. So I eventually left, I went back to school again, got a public health degree in policy, and then ended up actually going to work in the CMS Innovation Center on healthcare, technology, and interoperability policy for primary care models. And then eventually left, did some consulting as well.
She met me at the bar.
I met Kat at the bar one fateful day, and ended up eventually sort of becoming the CEO of this organization now through a number of different steps. Founded Civitas Networks for Health, which is a national nonprofit member organization. We brought together two longer standing organizations. And we have as members nearly all of the nation's health information exchanges, quality improvement organizations, health improvement collaboratives, about 170 members across the country. One of Kat's organizations, one of Kat's companies is a member of Civitas Innsena.
That's what I'm saying. It's all looped around here.
I'm also on the board of Zorya Foundation, as Kat mentioned, also on the board of the eHealth Exchange. And really where I am today is sort of bringing a combination of all of that marketing and comms experience and then a lot of policy work over the years. And those things come together to do what I do today, which is really run this national nonprofit member organization. And then a bunch of other projects like the Health Tech Talk Show.
Like the Health Tech Talk Show endeavor. Yeah,
that's for sure.
You know, the cool thing about being a PR girl, though, even though we're retired, is like Grace, I'm sure you feel this, like, what a time to highlight the importance of messaging in our world.
Man.
I mean, like, either side, doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Either side and everywhere in between. I mean, it's all about how you control the message, where the message goes out. It's pretty impressive.
It matters now more than ever. There are so many changes happening. The industry is moving more than ever, making some very interesting things happening in Washington, right? So let's just dive into it. What legislative or regulatory changes are highest on your radar right now that could significantly impact health IT?
I mean, I'm mostly watching the deregulation happen.
I don't know if I would say changes as much as I would say, I think
unaliving.
I think everything is on the table right now. We have no idea where it's going to land. I don't think that's all good, of course, but I am supportive at this point in time, after so many years, after being part of the regulatory, organization and government for healthcare and health IT, right? I think we've gone way, way far beyond where we needed to be. It's time for a deregulatory agenda in healthcare IT broadly and in health tech in general. And people shouldn't assume things are going to be the same, because they're not.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people have fallen prey, honestly, is, even when Trump was official in November, people were like, oh, last time it was just chaotic and nothing really happened. Well, y'all.
Not true.
I think that, first of all, isn't true. Things were able to stay a little bit, like you could rely on things like laws. You could say there's a law, so like whatever. Right now, it appears none of that matters, right? Like we're going around any loophole we can find. It's really interesting, and it's a little wild and scary. And so, I don't think you can rely on the way things were or the status quo. But I do agree, I think, strongly, because I believe in the great free private sector. I believe in the markets figuring a lot of things out. They won't always do what they need to do, especially in a market like healthcare, which is artificially constructed in a lot of ways because CMS is our largest payer and they are the government. But I do think we need to deregulate, and I think that's going to encourage innovation in the markets. I think how we deregulate will be interesting to watch. Do we just let things die? Do we just not water the plants, if you like the plants, and let things, or, do you actively pursue doging something?
Yeah, it's interesting. I really wonder what the future of value-based care is going to be at this point. There's so many layoffs happening in the space. It's just, they're changing the way regulations are happening in the space. What do you think that future will look like? Do you think that the ACO model will have to prevail? What do you think will happen in that space?
A candy question.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm asking.
Well, I think if you looked at what happened in value-based care and ACOs in the first Trump administration, and the people who are going to be sort of leading CMS and leading CMMI in particular, I think that they are very interested in ACOs, but also in continued privatization of the market. There are a couple of ACOs that were announced when I was still working at CMS that got changed and evolved. I think those will come back or continue. And what they do is essentially they change the MLR, which is the medical loss ratio. So the amount of money that any risk-bearing entity has to spend on actual care versus on administrative costs. And I think what some of the innovators, and I'm using air quotes here, innovators, because I don't know what the necessarily means in this context, but some of the innovators are saying, hey, what happens if we take away the MLR ratio? What does that mean for ways that we can provide care in a different way? So I think we'll see some changes like that. I think ACOs and really the continued privatization of Medicare fee for service, what was considered traditional Medicare, will definitely accelerate. And so I think that will happen. But I think the plan that the prior administration had around getting every beneficiary into an accountable care relationship will probably not continue apace.
Interesting. Which marginalized population do you feel is the most underrepresented right now in healthcare discussions and in all of these conversations? And what needs to change on that front? And I'll put that to you.
I think Medicaid beneficiaries, right? We don't have the AARP for Medicaid beneficiaries, right? There's not necessarily a large patient representing advocacy group that's speaking on their behalf. We have to rely on elected officials to do that based on their constituents. And so I think it's a little bit more diluted in general. Obviously, these are all sensitive topics right now just because DEI also got unalived in the new administration. So it's tricky stuff, and we may not even be able to track who truly is the group that will be marginalized by some of these changes, and that's a shame. I think we heard, it's hard because right now what we hear, it's a lot of rumor mill, it's a lot of who you know, but we did see, I think CMMI is no longer tracking Realty in general, right?
So C has given, I think, some guidance to the folks who are part of their models that they're not going to be requiring that they report on things like demographic criteria. Someone who completely misinterpreted, overreached, whatever the intention was. I fully respect that the administration wants to put into place policies and priorities that reflect the president's agenda. But I don't think that that's what anybody actually meant. I think that's somebody going way above and beyond.
I think people are defaulting to the most conservative option just because they're scared. Right.
It's wrong to track and understand things like demographic, race, ethnicity, language, or sexual orientation and gender identity. Even if you say we're not going to prioritize X, Y, and Z, everyone knows that. Right. Anybody who works in the space knows that.
You're not going to track different outcomes for women and men. I mean, even that,
you need to know that
women have babies, right? There are inherent health risks. You should know what's skewing that data. Which whatever. I mean, and again, this could all be rumors that are clawed back,
totally.
Right? There's not a lot of legit information coming out. You have to go on X to see what's happening, and even that, like we said, it's all about messaging and it's all about who's saying what, and you really have to have your wits about you.
But I think that's a really important point as well. We are in the middle currently. Right now, we're in February 2025. Things are very chaotic and confusing, and some of that's intentional. So people need to really take a moment when something is really important. You should say it and call it out.
Say it, yeah.
But I don't know that believing every single rumor immediately and immediately jumping to something else is the right thing to do right now. Right now, it's about hang on.
Yeah.
As we also like to say, shut the F up.
Curse on your show, Grace.
Don't talk right now if you don't need to. Wait and listen and see where things are going to land.
Right.
Because it's better for you to just take a beat and step back, but also think about what really matters here. Yes, we need to still track. One great example people keep saying is, oh, look, maternal mortality is finally improving, or it's finally, not getting worse, except for Black women. Except for that one little asterisk. And it's like, that actually matters a lot.
That's awful. That's PR math.
That's not
right.
good.
That's like, let's take out the bad part and just say it's fine. Yeah, not great.
You need to know that. And it does matter. No matter what your political persuasion is, you really don't want a significant portion of your population, majority or minorities, to have significantly worse health outcomes. That is rightfully horrible outcomes for the country, societal unrest rightfully. You want people to be getting healthier. Everybody does.
Yeah.
So fascinating. I love your insights. And this is what I love from your show too, is just how bold and brazen you are about what you believe, but also keeping it real. Because maybe if you shout from the rooftops, you don't know that HTI-2 is going to happen. You have no idea at this point. There's just a lot of rumors going around, and you really can't rest your laurels on anything in particular right now. It's really tricky.
Right.
So, though lighthearted, your show obviously tackles seriously tough topics in healthcare. So what's one that you've covered that sparked the most unexpected reactions or debate?
Gosh.
I feel like every week it's something different. Some weeks we don't have anything exciting to say. We're just covering the news and we're laughing and joking about stuff. I think I'm always a little bit surprised about what people come up to us about and say, wow, I can't believe you said that. And we're like, really?
I don't think it's one thing, but what Kat says, that things that we don't think are controversial, people think are controversial.
I think a lot of, we're fortunate. Obviously, everybody has a reputation that matters. Our reputations matter. If people just, cancel us overnight, that would suck. But we are in positions that are a little bit easier for us to say things. A lot of people, they're really scared about losing their jobs, right? Especially right now in the government. No one's, if you listen to the show, most recently we high-fived Andrei Ostrovsky, who's the, like we said, former CMO of Medicaid. And that guy on social media during Trump 1 was just like, I don't agree with this. And he was uninvited to his job, or I don't exactly know how that departure went, but like
the FDA commissioner,
he stood up for what he believed in. And I think it's really hard, and I don't know what his financial means were. And it's possible that he was going to be okay. But a lot of people aren't. And they're worried about paying their mortgage. And like, obviously, we have to pay our mortgages too. But it's like, I think that's why our show is interesting, despite all of our technical challenges, is we're just like, this is what we think. And we don't always agree with each other.
Yeah.
And we can still be friends. And I think that's also something that's unusual for like America in general. Can you be friends if you don't always agree?
Fair. Someone's goodness, even though they disagree, is such a critical life skill everyone needs to learn.
To say one thing that got the most maybe views for controversy, it might have been when I personally lost my shit about the way TEFCA was being positioned. And I thought that was misinformation. And I think that's one of the problems we see now is everybody thinks it does stuff that it doesn't do.
Yeah. Keep a lot of things into TEFCA.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's what happens if TEFCA doesn't happen. It's been around for 1 year. And guess what? If it goes away, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing right now, which is exchanging data.
Well, except for during that time, what happened due to this, I would say, misinformation about the reality of what TEFCA was going to offer anytime soon, regardless of the potential, right? You can paint a picture. I get you have to be a little bit ahead of the reality here, right? Marketing, PR, I understand you got to lean forward, but you lean forward so much that you actually drown out everything else happening. And that, I think, did everyone a disservice because now people are, like Kat said, they're more worried than they even should be. Obviously, it's a bummer. Millions and millions of dollars were spent.
Right.
It was a
waste of money.
I don't like that. But like, it's not going to end, like things aren't ending if TEFCA goes away because TEFCA didn't do much yet. Yeah. We wasted some time. We spent some money.
What's new?
And maybe it gets retooled. We don't know the future of it. At the best case scenario for people who like TEFCA is that TEFCA gets retooled. It gets co-opted. Potentially rebranded. That's also, we have a brand, as you know.
Freedom Health Data Network.
The Freedom Health Data Network is our suggested rebranding to the former Biden administration. That's right. Yep. But, so it gets retooled, best case scenario. Otherwise, other exchange is still happening.
Yeah, most data is still exchanged in different methods right now today.
Common care quality, the Q, there's data being
and private exchange.
Private exchange of all strengths.
Private exchange.
So, my listeners really like to learn from women leaders in healthcare about things that really drive them. And so I want to ask you both, what are things that you do in your personal life that help you work your best and make a difference? And so I'll start with you, Lisa.
Are we talking about hobbies?
Yeah, hobbies.
Oh, Lisa.
I'm talking about
Thank God you're
habits.
first.
I'm talking about things that you do that just help you keep going.
Okay, so I work all the time.
Yeah.
That's the end of my story. I genuinely love the work that we do. I love the industry that we're in. I love healthcare policy so much. I'm definitely like one of the original policy wonks in the space. I love to read. I love to take information. So I work a lot. But working for me doesn't look the same as maybe it looks like for someone else. I'm always thinking, analyzing, reading. So I do that most of the time. And the rest of the time I go on hikes. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, executives probably are the same as us, or at least the ones that I know. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't have a defined, we start work and we stop work. Like, at least for me, work, family life, it is all the same. My kids are here with me these couple days. My mom is here, right? It's like, this is just how our world works. I don't start work at 8 and stop working at 5. It's here and there and everywhere. Like Lisa, I love working. I really do. I love my job. I love starting new businesses. When I'm stressed out, I'm like, why not just add more to the pile? I
love buying domains and starting the actual businesses.
Yeah. Lisa's like, you know what we should buy? And how many domains do you currently have?
I have no. I
think I only have
answer that question.
6. You know which one I haven't used yet? Health IT After Dark.
Oh,
yeah, healthitafterdark.com. I feel like it's a little scandalous, so we'll see. The talk show was almost called Health IT After Dark. So
you know what? This is something interesting here because one thing I'm learning from you both too is the importance of having a power collaborator.
That's right.
Someone that just says, "Hey, that's a great idea. Why can't it happen?"
I'm great at starting things. I'm not great at the details.
Right. So you need someone to be a power collaborator. Somebody that's going to
you need someone who's going to gas you up and maybe also cut you down sometimes if you need it.
Only when you talk about socialism and paying taxes, Lisa. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
She's conflating socialism with paying taxes, just so you know.
Okay. Whatever.
I just told her to pay her taxes and she was like,
I always pay my taxes.
So, to finish this conversation off right, where can our listeners find you online?
Well, I wish our website was better.
It's great.
Yeah, you can find us multiple places. We are all over LinkedIn. I think that's probably our most accessible platform. Lisa Bari, Cat McDavitt. We're on the internet. The talk show has its own page where you can find all of our live shows recorded and sign up to watch the next one. It's every Friday at 30. We do have a world-class website that we made on Squarespace one Sunday morning so that we could apply for media badges.
Fantastic.
So
it's going great.
That was one of the many domains we purchased.
Yeah, and if you just search on LinkedIn for Health Tech Talk Show, you will find us as well. And a lot of stuff for us
we have a
happens
YouTube.
on-
We have a
we have
YouTube.
YouTube also, Health Tech Talk Show.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for joining me. And on your birthday, Kat,
Oh, my
happy
goodness.
birthday.
Thank you.
And thanks to you folks for joining us too. Cheers.
Like a Girl Media is more than a media network. It's a community. We want to meet you and amplify your voice and the voices of outstanding women innovating in healthcare. Interested in starting your own podcast or hosting an event near you? Connect with us online or in person. We're here to support and empower you.